told her that my children and I were dead? What is going on? These kids, are they yours?
I didn't mean it like that.
The crowd went silent. The bride dropped her bouquet, whispers spread like wildfire, and the man who once promised me forever stood frozen in front of 3 children who looked exactly like him. Hi, I'm Lauren Bennett, or rather, Laura Brown now. I was once a successful criminal psychologist. Today, I'm a single mother of triplets and the center of a scandal that rocked all of Silicon Valley. This is the story of how I turned a shattered heart into justice, right in the middle of the wedding of the man who tried to erase me and my children from his life.
Before I share my story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments, and hit like and subscribe if you've ever had to fight through pain for the sake of your family.
I still remember the weight of Nathan's hand on my stomach that morning, before everything shattered. His palm was warm against the cotton of my sleep shirt. Fingers splayed across where our twins grew. 5 years we'd waited for this moment. 5 years of needles and heartbreak and false hopes. "Morning, beautiful," he'd whispered, his tech mogul confidence softened by sleep. The Napa Valley sun streamed through our bedroom windows, painting gold strips across the hardwood floors of our estate. Everything felt possible then. I was Dr. Lauren Bennett once, criminal psychologist turned nonprofit therapist for traumatized children. Nathan Cross had swept into my life at a charity gala, all sharp suits and sharper wit. The founder of Argent Systems, making security software that protected half of Silicon Valley. We were the couple everyone envied. The success story, the fairy tale. But fairy tales, I've learned, are just pretty lies we tell ourselves. The changes started small after my pregnancy announcement. Late nights became later. His kisses, once hungry, turned perfunctory. "It's the IPO," he'd say, not meeting my eyes. "Once we go public, everything will calm down." I found myself washing strange perfume from his shirts. Not floral, something expensive, woody, deliberate. His laptop, once casually left open, now required fingerprint access. When I'd enter his home office, browser windows would snap closed like guilty mouths. "You're being paranoid," my sister Emma said during our weekly lunch. "Pregnancy hormones." Maybe she was right. Maybe I was seeing shadows where there was only stress. Nathan still brought me prenatal vitamins each morning, still asked about doctor appointments. He'd built a nursery that looked like it belonged in Architectural Digest. 2 cribs in soft gray, a rocking chair that cost more than most people's cars. The 20-week ultrasound changed everything, though Nathan didn't know it yet. "Well," Dr. Martinez said, her wand pressing against my gel-slicked belly. "Looks like you're getting a bonus." "Bonus?" My heart hammered. She turned the monitor toward me. 3 heartbeats. "Congratulations. You're having triplets." 3, not 2. 3 tiny lives depending on me. I drove home in a daze, ultrasound photos burning in my purse. Nathan should have been the first to know. Should have been there, holding my hand, both of us crying with joy and terror. But something made me pause at our front door. Maybe it was the unfamiliar car in our driveway. Maybe it was instinct, that old criminal psychology training kicking in. I waited. I watched. I said nothing. That night, Nathan made love to me for the last time. Even then, I knew it was goodbye. The way he held me too tight, kissed me too deep, like he was memorizing me, like he was already gone. "I love you," he whispered in the darkness. "I know," I lied. The call came at 3 a.m., 2 weeks later. Nathan's voice crisp despite the hour. "Emergency board meeting in Seattle. I'll be back Tuesday." He kissed my forehead in the darkness. I pretended to sleep, counting his footsteps to the door. 17 steps. I'd counted them 1,000 times before, but never like this, never knowing they might be the last. Tuesday came and went. His phone went straight to voicemail. Argent Systems receptionist grew increasingly uncomfortable with my calls. "I'm sure he'll be in touch soon, Mrs. Cross." But I wasn't Miss Cross. We'd never married, despite 5 years together. Another red flag I'd draped in excuses. By Thursday, I drove to our bank. The teller's face told me everything before she spoke. "I'm sorry, ma'am. This account was closed Monday morning." Our house, his house, I realized, was next. The locks had been changed while I was at my doctor's appointment. A crisp white envelope taped to the door, my name in Nathan's precise handwriting. Inside, a single line. "I thought I could do this. I was wrong." 7 words to end 5 years. 7 words to abandon 3 unborn children. I slept in my car that night, parked outside Emma's apartment, too proud to knock. My back screamed, the triplets pushed against my ribs, and I understood with crystal clarity. I'd been removed from Nathan's life like a bug in his perfect code. Debugged, deleted. The birth came early, as multiple births often do. 34 weeks, emergency C-section, no one in the waiting room with flowers or worried faces. I named them alone, Lily, James, and Noah. 3 perfect, tiny humans who looked devastatingly like their father. "Congratulations," the nurse said, helping me sign paperwork. Dad already filled out his portion. I stared at the signature line. Nathan Cross, in handwriting that wasn't his, wasn't mine. Someone had been here. Someone had claimed these children on paper while denying them in life. Eugene, Oregon became our hiding place. Far enough from Silicon Valley's gleaming towers, small enough to disappear. I legally changed back to my maiden name, rented a cramped 2-bedroom under that name, and built a wall between who we were and who we'd been. Lauren Bennett, celebrity therapist, ceased to exist. In her place, Laura Brown, online consultant, single mother of triplets. I cut my hair, dyed it darker, wore glasses I didn't need. Anything to avoid the pitying looks of former colleagues who might recognize the woman Nathan Cross had discarded. The days blurred together. Diapers, bottles, crying, usually mine mixed with theirs. I'd been prepared for sleepless nights. I hadn't been prepared for the suffocating weight of doing it alone. No partner to take the 3 a.m. feeding, no one to reassure me when Lily's fever spiked or James refused to latch. My therapy skills became survival tools, compartmentalize the pain, focus on the immediate need, breathe through the panic attacks that came when Noah's eyes, Nathan's eyes, stared up at me from his crib. 3 years passed in a haze of first steps, first words, and last hopes. I built a careful life from anonymous online consulting, voice disguised by software, payment through cryptocurrencies I'd learned to use out of necessity. We lived small, quiet, invisible. Then the package arrived. No return address. Inside, a USB drive and a sticky note. "You deserve to know." I waited until the triplets were asleep before plugging it in. Financial records bloomed across my laptop screen. Argent Systems internal documents, transfers to offshore accounts, a web of transactions all time-stamped around Nathan's disappearance. My hands shook as I scrolled. Millions moved in careful patterns, shell companies layered like nesting dolls. And there, buried in subsidiary documentation, a trust fund established 3 years ago. Beneficiary, James Nathan Cross, he'd named one of them, named one, only one. Like choosing which child deserved a father's love was a business decision. But how did he know James's name? I'd been so careful, so hidden. Unless the birth certificate. That signature that wasn't mine or his. Someone had been watching us all along. The wedding invitation arrived on a Tuesday, slipped under my door while I was making lunch. Thick cardstock, gold embossing, the kind of thing that screamed money and taste. Nathan Cross and Genevieve Clark request the honor of your presence. I read it 3 times before the words sank in. Nathan, getting married. The man who'd vanished rather than raise our children was building a new life with someone else. But there was more. A Post-it note tucked inside the envelope, handwriting I didn't recognize. He lied to both of us. I need to know the truth. Genevieve. The bride wanted answers. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I called Rafael Moreno, a private investigator recommended by my old criminal psychology contacts. Ex-FBI, discreet, expensive. I'd saved every penny for 3 years, and now I knew why. I need to know everything about Nathan Cross, I told him, and I need to know it before his wedding. Rafael worked fast. Within 2 weeks, he'd built a file that made my USB discovery look like a children's book. Nathan hadn't just hidden assets. He'd systematically erased us. Hired tech specialists to scrub our digital footprint, paid off hospital workers, even attempted to delete the triplets' birth records through a judge he'd bought. There's more, Rafael said during our last meeting. We sat in a diner outside Portland, his file spread between us like evidence of a crime, which it was. This isn't his first time. He slid a photograph across the table. A woman, pretty, tired-looking, holding a toddler. Monica Rivers, had Nathan's son 7 years ago in Boston, He disappeared when she was 6 months pregnant. A pattern. A serial abandoner, leaving broken families like breadcrumbs across the country. Genevieve doesn't know, Raphael continued. As far as she's concerned, Nathan's a widower who tragically lost his family in a car accident. The coffee cup shattered in my hand. Hot liquid, ceramic shards, blood mixing on the formica table. Raphael grabbed napkins, pressing them against my palm, but I felt nothing. Nothing but rage so pure it burned cold. He'd killed us in his story. Made us conveniently dead so he could play the grieving hero. So he could marry his company lawyer without the messy complication of existing children. The wedding's in 3 weeks, Raphael said quietly. What do you want to do? I looked at the invitation again. Santa Barbara. A vineyard, outdoor ceremony. I want to go, I heard myself say. And I want to bring the children. The Rosewood estate sprawled across Santa Barbara Hills like a promise of happiness. White chairs in perfect rows, an arch of roses and baby's breath, the Pacific glittering beyond. Beautiful, elegant, false as every promise Nathan had whispered in the dark. I dressed the triplets carefully. Lily in yellow, James in light blue, Noah in green. 3 little mirrors of their father, down to James's stubborn cowlick and Noah's crooked smile. My hands trembled as I braided Lily's hair. Where are we going, Mama? She asked. To see someone, I said. Someone who should have known you all along. We arrived as guests were finding their seats. I'd chosen a simple navy dress, professional, forgettable. We slipped in during the pre-ceremony chaos, found chairs in the back row. My heart hammered so loud I was sure everyone could hear it. Then I saw him. Nathan stood at the altar looking exactly as I remembered, except for the gray threading his temples. Armani suit, perfect posture. That smile that had once made me believe in forever. He was laughing at something his groomsman said, casual, relaxed, happy. The music changed. Everyone stood. Genevieve floated down the aisle in ivory silk and ignorance, radiant with the confidence of a woman who believed she was loved. She was beautiful, sophisticated in ways I'd never been. The kind of woman who belonged in Nathan's world of board meetings and benefits. I waited until they reached "Speak now or forever hold your peace." Such an antiquated tradition. Such a perfect moment. I stood, my children's hands in mine. The walk to the altar took forever and an instant. Heads turned, whispers rose. Nathan's face went from confusion to recognition to the kind of terror I'd only seen in suspects realizing they'd been caught. I said nothing. Simply placed a small box on the altar between them. Inside, DNA results, financial records, birth certificates, and a recording Raphael had managed to extract from Nathan's old phone backups. Genevieve looked from the box to me to the children. Her eyes widened as she saw Nathan's face repeated 3 times in miniature. Play it, I said quietly. He should hear it too. With shaking hands, she pressed play on the small device. Nathan's voice filled the garden. I don't want to be a father. Just make her sign. Move her out of the way before it gets messy. The silence that followed could have swallowed the world. Genevieve's bouquet hit the ground, roses scattering like broken promises. She stared at the documents, at my children, at the man she'd thought she knew. Jen, Nathan started, reaching for her. She stepped back, designer heels catching on her train. Are they yours? He couldn't even look at them. At his children standing 3 feet away, Lily hiding behind my leg, the boys curious and confused. His silence was answer enough. Genevieve picked up the birth certificates with the kind of care you'd use for broken glass. 3 children, triplets. Her voice was steady, lawyer calm, but her hands shook. You told me your family died. I can explain. No. She pulled off her engagement ring, diamond catching the sun one last time. You buried your children to marry your career. She placed the ring on the altar next to my box. I won't be buried with them. She walked back down the aisle, head high, leaving Nathan exposed before a garden of witnesses. Someone in the crowd was filming. Of course they were. This was Silicon Valley's wedding of the year collapsing in real time. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt empty. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about truth. Lauren, Nathan finally said my name, stepping toward us. Don't. I gathered my children closer. We're not here for you. We're here so they can see the face of someone who chose to pretend they never existed. James, brave James, looked up at Nathan with those identical eyes. Are you my daddy? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Nathan's mouth opened, closed, opened again. For once, the smooth-talking CEO had no words. "No, sweetheart," I answered for him. "He's just someone who looks like you." We left then, walking through a crowd that parted like we were contagious. But at the parking lot, someone touched my shoulder. A man with a press badge and kind eyes. "I'm David Chen, Wall Street Journal. I've been investigating Argent Systems for months." He handed me a business card. "What happened in there? Would you be willing to talk on record?" I looked at my children, then back at the estate where Nathan's perfect life was crumbling. "Yes," I said. "I think it's time everyone knew the truth." The Wall Street Journal article broke the internet. Tech titans' secret families spawned 1,000 think pieces about power, abandonment, and Silicon Valley's moral bankruptcy. Nathan's carefully constructed image shattered like the wine glass he'd thrown when the FBI raided Argent Systems. The courtroom in San Jose became our battlefield. I sat with my pro bono legal team, women who'd taken the case for the precedent, not the payout. Across the aisle, Nathan huddled with lawyers who charged more per hour than I'd made in a month. But he'd lost his star witness. Genevieve Clark sat behind me, having volunteered to testify against her former fiancé. He presented himself as a grieving widower, she told the court, voice steady despite the tears. He had photos on his desk. A woman and baby he claimed died in an accident. I now know those were stock photos. The prosecution presented Raphael's evidence methodically: financial fraud, identity manipulation, conspiracy to falsify government records. What started as a custody case had become a federal investigation. Then came the bombshell. "Your Honor," the prosecutor said, "we've discovered evidence of a previous incident. Monica Rivers, 2017, Boston. Nearly identical pattern of abandonment." Monica testified via video link, her son visible in the background. The same eyes, the same abandoned story. Nathan had perfected his disappearing act on her first. When Nathan finally took the stand, he looked smaller. His Armani replaced with a gray suit that didn't quite fit. His lawyers had coached him to appear remorseful, but narcissists make terrible actors. "I was overwhelmed," he said. "The pressure of triplets, the company going public." "You tried to delete their birth records?" my lawyer interrupted. "That's not overwhelm. That's erasure." The judge's decision came swift and severe. Full custody to me. Back child support calculated from birth. Nathan's assets frozen pending federal investigation. But the real victory was smaller, quieter. As we left the courthouse, Lily tugged my hand. "Mama, does this mean he has to love us now?" "No, baby," I said, kneeling to her level. "But it means we don't have to wonder anymore. We can just love each other." The FBI investigation would uncover 12 shell companies, 3 offshore accounts, and enough financial fraud to guarantee Nathan wouldn't see freedom for years. But I didn't care about his punishment anymore. I cared that my children would never again be secrets someone tried to bury. Vermont in October looked like healing. Our cottage sat nestled between mountains dressed in gold and crimson, far from Silicon Valley's poisoned promises. 5 bedrooms now. The triplets, plus Emma and Marcus, siblings I'd fostered then adopted when their parents died in a car accident. Ironic, really. Nathan had invented dead children for sympathy. I'd taken in orphans who needed love. "Mama, look!" Noah called from the garden, holding up a pumpkin nearly as big as he was. At 4, the triplets had grown into distinct people. Lily with her fierce protection of anyone smaller. James with his quiet way of fixing broken toys. Noah with his gift for making everyone laugh. The success of my book, Things I Learned from Being Left Pregnant and Invisible, had surprised everyone but my editor. Turns out, plenty of women knew the weight of being erased by someone who'd promised forever. The Advance bought this house, this new life, this chance to heal publicly and privately. I was hanging laundry when the car pulled up. Expensive, but understated, the kind of rental someone chooses when they don't want to be noticed. I knew who it was before she stepped out. Genevieve looked different, softer. Her power suits replaced with jeans and a cashmere sweater. She stood by the car uncertainly, like she might flee. "Coffee?" I called out. She smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from her. "Please." We sat on the porch, watching the children play. Emma was teaching Lily cartwheels while Marcus helped the boys build a fort from fallen branches, a family built from broken pieces, stronger for the mending. "I read your book," Genevieve said. Bought copies for my entire firm. How are you? She laughed, surprising us both. Better. Therapy helps. Turns out I had a pattern of falling for narcissists. Nathan was just the worst of them. We talked for hours about healing, about the strange sisterhood of women betrayed by the same man, about her new practice focusing on family law, helping women like us, about my nonprofit expanding to support single parents navigating abandonment. I never thanked you, she said as shadows grew long, for saving me from a life of lies. We saved each other, I corrected, and ourselves. As she left, Lily ran up, grass stains on her yellow dress. Who was that lady? A friend, I said, realizing it was true. Someone who understands that the best families are the ones we choose. That night, I tucked 5 children into bed. 5 children who knew they were wanted, chosen, loved. No DNA tests needed, no court orders required. Just love, messy and complicated, and absolutely certain. Nathan was serving 7 years for financial fraud. Monica had found peace in Boston with her son, thriving. Genevieve was building her practice. And I was here, in a cottage full of laughter, writing my next book about families that bloom in unexpected soil. The fire Nathan had set to burn us out of his life had only cleared the ground for something better to grow. From the ashes, we'd built a fortress of our own. Not of glass this time. Those shatter too easily. But of stone and steel and the unbreakable bonds between people who choose to stay. My phone buzzed with a text from Raphael, now a friend who visited monthly. A photo of him teaching James to fish, both of them grinning at the camera. Some families are born, his message read. The lucky ones are built. I smiled, pulling my laptop close to start tomorrow's chapter. Outside, October wind whispered through changing leaves, carrying the sound of my children's dreams and the promise of every tomorrow we'd claimed for ourselves. The vanishing father had given us the greatest gift without meaning to. The chance to discover we'd never needed him at all. We'd needed each other. And that we had in abundance. Some stories end with weddings. Mine began with one that never happened. And in that unraveling, we'd found our way to something infinitely more precious than any vow spoken at an altar. We'd found our way home.
And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Never let someone else decide your worth, or your children's. When people try to erase you, you write your own story louder. If you've ever had to rebuild after betrayal, know this. You are not alone, and you are stronger than they ever expected. Like, comment, and share this with someone who needs to be reminded of their power.